my name is Yuri Kasdorp, and we are back with another track guide on Coach Dave Academy. This time we don't just have a track guide, we've got the big one, as you can see, on the Nordschleife combined in the Porsche GT3R. Very long track, one of the best tracks, if not the best track in iRacing, I think, but it is quite difficult to get your head around because it is quite long. There's a lot of things where it can go wrong, a lot of walls are very, very close. So let's have a look on a lap around this and what things to avoid going around it when you're trying to learn the track. Right, so here we are, start the lap, and we're starting race fuel, but we are starting with cold tires. Just like you would in qualifying, setting a qualifying lap for this, the Grand Prix section's gonna be quite tricky, because the tires won't be quite at the temperature yet, but once we get to the Nordschleife, we should have the temperature in them. There'll be a lot of issue corners. Just try to keep clean around the lap. Keep it consistent and not make any mistakes. So now we're going to look at the 100. We got the shortcut here. Now we're going to go straight. So we're going to keep to the right. Especially here, you'll feel the car understeer with cold tires. So patient on the throttle. For the hairpin, we want to open it up, so we're going to all the way to the left here. And to get a good exit. Schumacher on cold tires is always tricky. Braking just at 100, making sure to open the corner up here. To car for a good exit here.
You've got about 2 laps of fuel.
And we're going to be looking at the 50, to go for the long chicane. Try to keep the speed up here, avoiding cut strokes. And then we're going to take the left-hander onto the Nordschleife. Try to hug the inside. Open it up to the right side here the moment you can. Again, clip the outside curb. 2 next right-handers are just about flat, depending on the wing you're running. Try to brake in a straight line here. More to lose by going straight than there is to gain on the entry. Clip the curb on the right side there. Brake early here as well. Go over the curb on the right side and try to set it up for a good exit. We got the first bit of rest point up to Flugplatz. And again, depending on the wing, this is just about flat. It's always tricky here. The big, long back straight. I think this is straight and right. Small lift here over the top of the hill to make sure you can keep the car on the left side. Brake just when the curb ends. Third gear, you want to hug the inside. And if you enter the corner well there, hug the inside well, you can go on throttle early. Take all that speed with you down here. The bottom here is easy flat, and then we want to aim for the curb on the left side top of the hill. Bit of throttle over that curb will help keep the car stable. Hug the inside at this apex is really important to try to set up for a good exit out of the section. And again, you can clip the curb on the outside even though it's quite high. Small lift on the next left-hander and careful that you're not going wide. If you're going wide here, you're in the grass and it's over. Keep it tight here. Make sure to not clip the curb on the right side. Double apex on the right, and you can clip the curb on the outside, but keep in mind that will make your car understeer. Pretty much flat through here. Then we go to miss the first one, hit the second one, and then miss the last one again. Try to straight line brake as much as you can here. Set the car for the right side again. And this always understeers quite a lot here. You want to make sure to end up on the left side. To open up the right-hander up the hill and get a good exit all the way up the hill. I'm gonna brake at about the sign on the right. And apex very late to try to get a good exit. Now we're on the back straight, got half the lap done. With a big run up the mood curve, everything before that is easily flat, maybe even too wide if you try to overtake. Right, so here we are on the run at the mood curve. We can go to 6th with some wings. Sometimes it's quicker to stay in 5th. Small lift and mood curve makes it a bit easier. Brake where the curb starts on the left side. Carousel, you want to make sure that your left side wheels are like on the edge of the concrete. That way the car lays in the concrete well and it grabs your car and you can take a lot of speed through there. Keeping it 4th here, small inputs, otherwise the rear will start to step out a lot like it happened there. And through this whole section, very important to have small inputs to keep the car balanced, to not upset the cars way too much. And you let the car flow through the corners. Small tap on the brake, you can run quite wide on the exit here. To open up YouTube corner. Run wide, again open the next corner up a lot. Try to focus on the exit. You can run over the curb on the right, just fine. And got a small jump, and a small tap on the brake just before the jump settles the car very nicely over the jump. You can go in quicker, but you make it quite hard for yourself. And this here is easy flat on the current GT3 cars. Want to brake right before the time exchange is there. Rear start to step out slightly. Right side can be on the curb here for good entry to the small carousel. Same here, you can put your left side tires on the curb for slightly better entry. In the middle of the corner you want to be all the way on the left, set up for as good of an exit as you can. I've got the whole back straight. Nothing hurry, so let's just skip past that and I'll see you guys once we get closer to the chicane. Alright, so here we are under the bridge. And to make sure to get your car as straight as possible over the bumps here, so from the right to the left side. Still easy flat. You start braking when the curb starts to enter. You flip the inside curb. Left hand is easy flat again. And that's a lap around the Nordschleife in the Porsche. Let's have a deeper look into it, and especially the problem corners where we can gain or lose a lot of time. Alright, so here we are, start of the lap. And what I'll do in this guide to make sure it's not going to be 30 minutes long, we'll look at the corners where there's most or least time to gain. Some corners, they're a lot like the other corners where you need to keep the balance of the car up, keep the flow of the track up, but there's not much specific. We can talk about specific things to hit. Some other corners where we can gain or lose a lot more, I'll try to focus a bit more time on. So for turn 1, you want to look at the 100 marker, try to straight line the braking, go down to first gear. Keep the first apex quite tight, that way we can open up corner 2 a tiny bit more. It's very, very tight. And try to get decent traction out of the corner. In the Porsche we always get decent traction, in other cars you will need to straight line the exit a bit more. Here we just need to keep the speed up and make sure we're not exiting all the way on the right, so we got a good entry for the hairpin. We got the hairpin here. You can open it up slightly by going onto the runoff on the left side here. And we try to set up for a good exit here. I got Schumacher's and cold tires. It can be a bit tricky. With hot tires, it should be quite easily flat. Close to the slowdown I got there. You want to brake on the right side here. Half your car on the white line and use this bit of right side here. It's not quite grass. It's got enough grip that you can drive over it. Clip the inside curb. This right-hander, you just need to keep the speed up. There's not much specific to it. Try to open it up as much as you can and get a good exit from it. Then we got to run to the chicane. We got the long chicane. Go as far to the right, as close to the grass as you consistently can. Brake around the 50 and then try to keep the speed up through the chicane. It's very easy to get off tracks here. And again on the exit, if you clip this outside curb here, the car tends to understeer and we can't quite open up the next left-hander enough. So make sure to not quite go onto the curb here unless you know you can get off it quickly again. Bring the car to the right side to try to open up the corner going onto the Nordschleife. The moment we pass this point here with the barrier ends, we want to open up the corner a bit to the right side. And we just get that tiny bit more space into the corner to open it up a tiny bit more. You can clip the exit curb here a bit. Double right-hander should be flat out. Small lift, you can make it a bit more stable. For the chicane here, you try to brake as much as a straight line. You don't try to overdo it. If the car understeers into it, it's going to understeer wide quite easily. The first curb there on the left, you can clip a tiny bit. This right-hander, you can clip quite a lot. The last left-hander, you can't really clip the inside curb much. Brake early here and try to follow the inside curb here over these small stones. And most importantly, try to set up for a good exit, because from here on out, we're not going to be lifting much until we get to Swirling-Kreuz. Again, on cold tires, you might have to do a small lift around here. It could be just about flat. On hot tires, foot flats here gets easy flat. To run to Swirling-Kreuz. It's all easy flat, and then here you want to lift a tiny bit going onto it to follow the inside curb. If you exit a bit wide here from the inside curb, it's hard to get towards this point here where you want to start braking. So you want to follow the inside curb and start braking where this curb ends here. As straight as possible down to third gear. If you go in too much here, the car will understeer. If you go in with the right speed, the car will follow the inside curb nicely. And it will allow you to go on throttle quite early and keep that rotation going. Get to the hole here, and you want to make sure you get as far to the right as you can here. You got the invisible apex on top of the hill that you want to clip. Of course, you want to learn exactly where this apex is. Until you know exactly where this apex is, take a bit of speed off here. There's not that much to gain because we got a braking zone immediately after, and there's a lot to lose because if you clip this curb wrong on the inside, there's walls on the left and right side immediately. So you want to clip this curb on the inside. If you do this without having any throttle on, the car can have bounces, and it can bounce a bit to the left on the exit or to the right on the exit. And as you can see, this wall is very close. And if you can't quite brake immediately after this curb, this wall is going to be even closer. So having a wrong bounce here can be very fatal to your race. Both these walls will give your car quite a lot of damage. So take it a bit easy here. There's not that much to gain. And if you clip this inside curb, a bit of throttle keeps the car much more stable over this curb here. And then immediately on the brakes. And you want to make sure that you don't enter this first part of this first apex of the double left-hander all the way on the left side here, because that way you can't start turning before you get to the apex and you'll start to go straight immediately. So you want to leave yourself a bit of space on the left side that allows you to start turning before you get to the apex, and then you want to get to this point here on the second apex. You want to follow the curb, and you want to follow the curb as much as you can to open up this right-hander and open up for a good exit. You don't want to clip these curbs on the inside, they're way too high. For a good exit here, and then on the exit you can clip the curb even though it's quite high as well. It doesn't upset the car too much. So important to get a good exit on this bit here. And then small lift in this corner. Again, there's not much of an exit after the corner. There's immediately braking zone again. And if we go a bit wide here, so you either lose the rear too much, or what's even easier is on the exit, you've got a bit of runoff here, but that stops here. If your right side tires aren't back on the track by this point, this wall is very close, because you cannot get back on track and start braking in time to make it for the next corner. So this is one of those corners where it's very high risk with not much reward, and it's better to just slowly build it up through there, and even in your first couple of races, slowly build up the speed a bit and let others make the mistake there. It's one of those corners where the risk isn't really paying off as much for the reward. Take it easy in this corner. Very easy to go in a bit deep here and then exit towards this outside curb, and then you don't have the angle to take the next right-hand king flat. Want to brake in a straight line here and make sure you don't have to be at the curb on the first part, but you want to be near the curb on the second part. And then this exit here, if your car's not straight enough, it will pull you towards the wall. So make sure that you're not using too much of this exit curb before your car is straight. This should be flat out if you get the right line into it. Then we get to the triple apex one. And what they also call this corner is the miss, hit, miss. Meaning you don't want to be at the first, quite at the first apex. You want to be going from the outside towards the inside. You want to be at the second apex. So you want to hit this curb. And then on the exit, this one, you can miss again and start running wide towards the grass. Then we get to one of the trickiest corners because we want to brake hard here for, it's almost a hairpin. It's second or sometimes even first gear to get rotation. But as you can see, we got a corner and downhill camber in the track that doesn't allow us to just brake in a straight line. So what I like to do is brake quite a lot here, as much in a straight line as I can. Then when I start turning, I go off the brakes a bit. And then after the first apex, I try to brake a lot again. I went on the brakes a bit too much here, that made the rear step out. So it's really important to let go of the brake when you're at this apex here, trying to get the car to rotate. And if you go too deep, if you don't get the car to rotate enough, you're going to be all the way on the inside and you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of speed. So I went a bit deep here. Normally you don't have to hit the first part of the corner, but you definitely want to hit the second part of the apex here. And this should be easy flat on the exit. To bring your car to the right on the exit here, and I use the end of the curb as a point where I want to start braking. And this corner here is always very treacherous. Because of the way the camber goes, the track goes down a bit. The car always wants to understeer. And it's very easy to understeer right if you hit this curve, for example. The car just stops rotating at all. Even if you don't hit this curve, it's hard to get the car all the way to the right or to the left side again for the next right-hander. So you want to get the car all the way to the left side again, at the curb, or sometimes even on the curb, to try to open up this right-hander, because we're going uphill quite steep. So it's important to keep the speed through the corner and carry a lot of speed on the exit. Otherwise, we're at the bottom of the hill, we're not going to have much speed and we're going to lose a lot of time on the exit. So this is one of those corners where you want to be on throttle early and you want to be near the curb. If you go over the curb, it can be quite risky. But this is one of those corners where if you want to start pushing a bit more around the track, you want to start feeling a bit more comfortable, you can start pushing a bit earlier here. Because this is one of those corners where the risk is quite high, but the reward is also quite high. Because we're going uphill, and we got quite a long straight after the corner. And any speed you can carry from the exit there is more speed you can carry all the way on the straight here. This kink is easy flat as well, so there's extra speed here. Then at backpack, we want to brake just around the sign here. We don't want to get to the inside too early, but we want to get to the inside around this point here normally and try to get a good exit all the way onto the back straight. And run all the way to the left side here. Could have got a better line and just left myself. And then we got the back straight, and I'll see you guys when we get to Nurburgring. So we can skip this part, because this is where I crashed. Right, so we're back. Here we are getting to Nurburgring. You want to open Nurburgring up as much as you can, and it's in the name as well. Nurburgring, it means like a... Oh, what's the English translation again? How much courage you have, courage corner. So it could be just about flat depending on the wind you're on and how hot the temperatures are, but it's you need a lot of courage to keep it almost flat or keep the speed going through here, because the wall and the exit is very close. And again, it's one of those corners where it's risk versus reward. It's easier to just lift a bit and get a nice balance in the car without fully lifting and then back on the throttle than it is to just completely go flat out, because again, this wall is very close. The gas is even closer, and if you get to the gas here as well, the car is going to understeer and you're going to struggle getting the car back on track without hitting the outside wall there. And you got this king. This king's also very tricky. You want to get the car as much to the left as you can, and here again, it doesn't pay off much to go flat out here. It's tricky, it's possible to go flat, but if you want to lift a tiny bit, you're saving yourself a lot of risk and you're not losing much time here at all. Now we want to brake where the curb starts here, and we want to brake as much in the straight line as possible, meaning that we don't want to follow the curb on the left side. We'll just enter the next corner from more in the middle of the track. Want to hug the inside on the entry and on the exit. And then we get to the most famous corner, I think, on the Nordschleife, the carousel. We want to enter this from the middle of the track or from the inside. You can also enter from the inside and then go with the curvature, with the camber of the inside of the carousel. You have to find what works the best for you and what grabs your car the most. I always like to go a bit further from the outside, but you can't open the corner up too much, because then you'll enter the carousel too late and it doesn't quite grab you as much as it could. So I want to go in straight, and then I want to aim that the left side of my tires are following the bottom line of the carousel. That way the right side of the tires aren't quite on the top, and it should sit in nicely here through the corner. One big thing here is that if you're not on throttle enough, the rear of the car tends to stick further to the inside than the front, and the car starts understeering more. So if you've got the issue that you're behind some other people and you tend to always lose time, like I did, like the first couple hours I drove this track, I was always losing time in the carousel. What helped for me is making sure that I'm on throttle between like 40 and 60% all the way through, and it helps the rear kind of be planted into the corner, and it actually helps the car rotate and stay in the carousel more than it does otherwise. That way we carry the way through, and then once you get closer to the exit, you're gonna have to trust that the car will stick and be pushed into the corner and just go flat from some point. And it will keep your car into this if you got the right line, and it won't just spit your car out to the right side here to the wall. So that takes a bit of experimenting with the new feature we've got now, the reset feature. It's easy to set a reset point just before the corner and just experiment how this feels like and what kind of behavior you want through the carousel. There's a lot of time to gain if you do it right, and if you get the right technique, there's not much risk to it either. So this is one of those corners where you can practice and gain quite a big payoff if you get it right. Then we get to the 3/4 way of the Nordschleife, and I would say from here to the Dottingenhöhe, it's a lot about the flow. It's a lot less about the inputs that you have, and a lot more about the flow of keeping the car balanced, meaning the weight around the center of the car, and making sure your inputs aren't huge. You don't want to start suddenly on throttle too much, and you especially don't want to suddenly brake too much from here on out. How does that look like? Let's have a look. So small bit of brake here. Try to keep the car, again, not too much weight on the front. Bit of throttle throughout here. Easy to lose the rear, as you can see on my lap as well. A bit of throttle through this corner as well. Small tap on the brake. A bit of throttle through the corner as well. You don't want to go over the curb on the left side here. Then this should be almost flat or flat, and you want to make sure to hug the inside here. If you exit too wide, the rest of the section, you won't be able to keep the speed up. Hug the inside here as well. You can go over the curb a bit. This one should be almost flat. Again, over the curb a bit. And like you can see, this whole section here, try to not brake too hard and keep the flow of the car going. Same here. Make sure you exit on the left side here. Small tap on the brake. The camber here helps the car around. Use quite a bit of curb on the exit. With YouTube corner, the exact same. Try to use the whole exit. Use all the entry here, going a bit slower than you think maybe, to go on throttle early. And run all the way over the curb on the right side. It's not that high, the car can handle it. Next bit's completely flat. And then we get to the jump. This point here, you can take it flat, but if you take it flat, the car is going to bottom out when you land, and you're going to struggle quite a lot in the next corner. So it's better to just step the brakes just before you jump here, to make sure the car doesn't go airborne too much. It settles down a lot quicker, and you can set up the next corner a lot easier. One small side note here is that if you want to do a downshift, try to not do it mid-air, because when you're in the air, especially if you have a bit of brake on, the tires stop immediately and the car will let you downshift quicker, like there's no downshift protection. So you might be able to downshift here before the car's got the actual speed for it, because your wheels are stopped. And then when you land, it can blow up the engine. So when you want to downshift, do it after you've landed. And again, a bit of throttle through here. Try to keep the car as much to the right as you can. From here on out, it's easy flat. Especially in current GT3 cars. I try to brake just before the tarmac changes here. And again, don't try to brake too hard, because this whole section is flowy. We're never really in a straight line braking. If you brake too hard, the rear is going to want to step out. Want to get to the inside here, and a bit of understeer preventing me to. Want to keep two right side tires on the curb if you dare to. It gives you a bit more extra turning for the small carousel. Get to the small carousel, you can go and throttle quite early. Same here. You can get two tires on the curb here to open the next corner a tiny bit more. And you want to exit to the left side in the middle of the corner towards the grass. Open up that last bit as much as you can, so you can be on throttle as early as you can. Really important for the big back straight, the Nurburgring. And we got this whole bit here where you get the payoff from the running lower wing, so you can suffer the whole section before with a loose rear end, and then get a big payoff for tuning that wing down all the way on the back straight here. Maybe get a couple positions if you were able to hang on to the guys running more wing. And we get to the last chicane. You want to run this bit here as straight as you can. If you have too much steering input on the bumps here, the car can get loose. If you start to lift too much here, take the weight from the rear, the car can get loose as well. If you just keep your wheel steady with the throttle up, it doesn't have to be full throttle, but at least a bit of throttle, the car should stay fairly stable over the bumps. Then I brake just after the curb ends on the right side. You want to aim to get close to this wall here to open up the chicane. Catch the inside curb there and then flat out. And then we got a lap around the combined Nordschleife track. Hope you guys learned something, and I hope you guys especially learned where to start taking a risk and where it doesn't really pay off to take the risk yet when you're learning the track. So there we go. The big one, the long one, around the Nordschleife. As you guys can see, a lot of places where it's easy to lose time. A lot of places where it's easy to gain time as well or make mistakes. Very tricky to learn it, but I promise you, once you've learned the Nordschleife, it's one of the best tracks to drive and to race on this whole simulator. I wish everyone good luck, but more importantly, a lot of fun on this week. One of the best weeks on iRacing again. And if you want to see more lap guides like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel.